Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. As South Africans look to keep warm and cook for their families this winter, many find themselves using methods such as coal-fueled braziers, which pose a significant health risk. Liquefied petroleum gas is seen as a cleaner and safer alternative, and companies such as Hakem Energies are driving an initiative this Mandela month, providing over 1,000 LPG packs to help combat energy poverty and give access to safe and clean cooking alternatives to underprivileged communities. Hakem Energies founder Refilwe Sebothoma joins us now for more. Refilwe, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. An exciting initiative, I know, one which is very close to your heart. Talk to us about why you're handing out these LPS gases, LPG.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wisimpo, for having us on the show. Yes, absolutely. I'm extremely passionate about, and one of the reasons is because, energy poverty for me is not just a concept, it's something that I grew in. I grew in energy poverty, being raised by my grandmother, and we went through it. And I often say that energy poverty, unfortunately, is not my story. It's a South African story. And to be honest, it's an African story, and especially if we look at the marginalized communities, I think, some of us, we've been able to navigate ourselves out of that energy poverty, but most of them, they still find themselves in there. And even now, as we speak, mostly around the issues of energy transition, we often talk about just energy transition. And we have seen, and we are questioning, really, is it just if we are living the lives of the marginalized communities behind it? And it's also important because for those communities, not just about energy poverty, it's about so many social dilemmas which are linked to it. One of them being the firewood rape, where young women especially are being raped and targeted when they go into the field to try and collect firewood. We've seen paraffin poisoning among toddlers as well, where toddlers are consuming paraffin because in most of this informal settlement, they store it in a juice bottle or a cold drink bottle, and the toddlers, they assume it's something that is safe, that they can drink. And we've seen that. We've also seen statistics really talking around over 11% of cancer, which is related to different toxins as well. So I think these are really just some of the socio-economic dilemmas and issues that, in our perspective, if we solve energy poverty, we automatically solve them.
Yeah, absolutely. As you talk about liquid petroleum gas, one, of course, cannot ignore some of the myths that came with it in terms of safety. What makes it stand out as an alternative that you so much believed in that you started an entire business around it? How then do you define some of the myths and misconceptions that you'd like to perhaps correct as you and I speak this evening?
Sure. I think firstly, LPG is widely used, in the country. But what we've seen is that it has often been used by middle to high earning communities. And what we have done in partnership with Oryx, because we are an authorized distributor of Oryx, is that we've then packaged it in small cylinders, but we've also created infrastructure that allows us through our LPG box to take it and make it accessible to those marginalized communities. And you are right, there's still a lot of myths around it. There's still a lot of huge concerns around safety. And, some of the biggest things that we are doing during this road show in the Northwest that we are busy with is that we are partnering with different stakeholders like the Department of Fire, to really do a lot of education around it. We are demonstrating how to use LPG, how to detect leaks, when there is fire or disaster, how are the end users able to then respond to those kind of things. So in our opinion, if we respect gas and we use it well, it's really a safe alternative for those marginalized communities. And the big thing for us is that LPG is available now. It's available today. And when people are poor and living in such circumstances, they need solutions and they need them today. I mean, we have seen as well that over 3.7 million premature deaths are happening throughout the world because of lack of access to clean cooking solutions. And we believe from Hakem Energy that LPG, it's a solution that is viable, it's available now, and I think it's very affordable through the marginalized communities. And what we've done is that we've partnered with the likes of Petrogas, who have then, through their sponsorship, giving those communities access to it. And what we are doing specifically this week with our Mandela Clean Cooking Roadshow, we are distributing over 1,000 of those LPG packs to give those communities access to clean cooking.
Where exactly are you going to be distributing the gas tanks? And of course, how did you establish where and who to gift these tanks to?
So I'm born and raised in Northwest, in Wonderkop, known as Marikana to be very specific. And I think when we had the opportunity to really pilot the model, it was such a privilege for me to go back and start at home. You know, in my language, they say, so it was just a massive privilege for me to start at home. Of course, we want to roll it nationally, you know, because like I said, this is not just my story, it's a South African story. So we are working very hard, and we are anticipating to roll out these LPG boxes throughout the nation in the next 3 years, and making sure that every single South African, regardless of their circumstances, they've got access to LPG. We partner with a lot of foundations which really help us in these communities, because those are the people who take care of the communities, you know. So yesterday we started in 2 communities where we had partnered with Mebu Nodos Foundation, which takes care of vulnerable families. Today, it was our 2nd day. We were in 2 other communities where we had partnered with Khosana Rakhudu Foundation. So we partner with stakeholders which are already in those communities, and they know exactly the needs. We also work quite very closely with different social development stakeholders who really understand the needs, because we also want to make sure that those packs go to the deserving community members.
Are they cost effective, would you say, as you roll them out? I mean, you'll be rolling out fully loaded tanks, but are they cost effective? Will families be able to refill them comfortably and still manage to avoid what you are trying to avoid, which is the energy poverty you speak of?
Yeah, sure. So I think, you know, one of the things that Petrogas, to be very specific, decided to partner us with is that they're very passionate about the clean cooking drive, and they saw us as a critical partner that they could partner with. And I think what we're addressing right now is what we call the initial cylinder deposit, which is quite hefty. I mean, if you go in majority of the retail stores, it's between 700 to 1,000 rand empty cylinders, you know. So we've packaged it this way so that we can give them that initial investment. And what we've done with the LPG boxes is that in different communities, we've set them up, and we have what we call pay as you use, you know. So if a customer has 50 bucks and they can only refill for 50 bucks, our system then allows them to do that, because we also don't take it for granted that often those communities, they cannot afford to refill the full cylinder because they just don't have the means to. So we've really customized it and made it very relevant to where they are, so that we can make LPG accessible for them. So definitely. And we've also seen, you know, I mean, we've done quite a lot of testing models. We've done a lot of research with the likes of LPGSA as well, where we're confident, and we've seen that LPG is also cheaper than electricity. But like we said, it's reliable, right? You know, if you get home after a long shift, you know that you can always switch on your gas stove and you'll be able to cook for your family.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us. All the best with your initiative. Speaking to us, there's Hakem Energies founder, Refilwe Sebothoma, talking about access to clean cooking alternatives to underprivileged communities.